Joining us now for more on the crypto space, Antoni Trenchev, co-founder of crypto lender Nexo. Very nice to speak to you, Antoni. And we want to get into a conversation about your business specifically, about regulatory thoughts. But I want to ask you first about what Tim was just talking about there, about what's driving the crypto prices at the moment. He was saying he was facing up to the winter and saying it's been a tough macro backdrop, but he thinks that a lot of the leverage is out of the system and he doesn't see another shoe to drop. We've seen quite stable Bitcoin prices recently. What's your view?
Yeah, no, I completely concur with that view. The macro backdrop is what ultimately drives the market right now. Unfortunately, there has been some correlation direct between overall equities and crypto. Leverage is definitely out of the system. That's why we haven't seen any sort of drop below the lower range of around $19,000, $17,000. And we need some new impulses to get us through the higher barrier of around 25, which is the higher bound range.
Okay, Antoni, let me ask you about some of the things that have been going on from a regulatory perspective. Several states alleging last month that Nexo offered its interest-bearing crypto products to customers without first registering them as securities. Also suggesting there was misrepresentation as a licensed and regulated company. I mean, how are you responding to those kind of criticisms?
We pride ourselves in our 4-hour transparency, and this is the approach we have always had with regulators. We are cooperating, providing the necessary and requested data in a timely manner. I was quite surprised that they decided to go public about something that has been ongoing for over a year now. We have been talking to federal and state regulators, figuring out what, if anything, we have done wrong in the past, but more importantly, how the path forward looks like. And that is what's got me terribly excited, because one thing is clear, it is that they want the earned interest product in the US in compliance with the regulatory framework, which is now shaping up nicely and clearly. And this is the good news, is crypto and the earned interest product in the United States is here to stay and will be, brought into its 2.0 version.
How long do you think this fight with regulators, though, is going to be drawn out, Antoni, both here in the U.S. and do you expect other regulators, other jurisdictions to have the same issues?
Matt, you know, I would love to talk about that, but you also know that I cannot talk about that. And as soon as I can, I will be on the first flight to New York to have a sit down with you and discuss it in person.
Yeah, the invitation is always there. It's a standing invitation, Antoni. Let me ask about the yield then. You know, when I first talked to you, now I don't know how many years ago, I was astounded by the yields that you were offering, and it's been a huge draw for your products. Those yields are now a lot lower, and we see a lot of other, you know, plain vanilla yielding instruments much higher. The 10-year, as Kaylee was saying earlier, went over 4%. What are you seeing in terms of the relationship or the demand that investors have for your products now, as, you know, plain vanilla bonds yield so much more?
Yeah, well, we have to consider that these yields are on fiat currencies only, so our offering for interest on digital assets remains very attractive, and we are one of the very few players that provide it. So no change on that. If anything, new players are coming in.
What are the levels you're offering right now, Antoni? Can you quote some?
We are offering up to 12%, depending on the structure of your portfolio and your loyalty tiers. But 12% is something you can get on fiat currencies, up to 8% on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So still higher than what most banks would have, even with the push of the Federal Reserve and the central banks. And institutions are coming in. Right now, it is not a retail-driven market. It's more an institutional-driven market, and they play it smart. That's why you don't see the slump below 19, 17,000, because all the institutions coming in to buy it up.
All right, so maybe blame the institutions for making the space a little more boring, or maybe that makes it more interesting. Antoni, Anna began the conversation talking about the difficulties many crypto companies have faced. A lot of leverage has gotten washed out. We've seen a lot of projects just collapsing entirely. You have pushed back on speculation about any kind of difficulty financially that Nexo is having. Can you give us more insight into your runway, and if regulatory issues here in the U.S. inhibit your ability to offer some products here, what would that mean?
Sure, we are in great shape, and this means that we have a very strong balance sheet. This means that we are the only crypto lender to have a real-time audit on our reserves to show that our assets exceed liabilities at all times. And what we talked about earlier, everybody that was going to go bust has gone bust, and we came out of this unscathed. Not only that, but we are in a position to help consolidate the space. You know, we are working, still committed to making it work with Volt, which was one of the lenders that got into trouble. We're doing, hopefully completing soon, the due diligence and finding a solution. And so we are in a position to help consolidate the space. I think that speaks volumes in and on itself about how the business was developed, managed to this day. And this is the ultimate test, the reality of running a business real time.
Well, and just on the subject of deals you are doing, Nexo bought a minority stake in the U.S. federal bank Summit National Bank last month. Why do that deal?
Yeah.
What does that do for Nexo?
Well, we are future-proofing Nexo. This means that right now there is a bit of a turf war between regulators. Is this going to be under the SEC? Is it the CFTC? Where does the OCC fit into that? So it is a little bit messy. It's getting clearer, but you know, there have been some conversations about what goes where. So this is Nexo's approach. We work on several different fronts. So regardless of the outcome, we can bring our products and services to the U.S. client in a compliant manner. So, you know, having a stake in a federally chartered U.S. bank helps a long way, and we can use some of their licensure infrastructure to provide our services.
Antoni, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you stopping by the studio in London. You are welcome in New York City anytime. Antoni Trenchev there, the co-founder of the crypto business Nexo. Tune in, by the way, to Bloomberg.